Assalamu alaikum. Welcome, Halleema Munoz. We are going to get right into the questions. I'm going to ask you just to introduce yourself a little bit. I know you, alhamdulillah, but for those who don't know you, if you would introduce yourself really quick.
Okay, walaikum salam. Thank you for having me, Ida.
Absolutely,
Yes, I'm so
absolutely.
grateful to be here. Yes, again, my name is Halima Munoz, and I'm a mother of five, and I am a educator as well. I've been an educator for over 20 years, and I'm the owner of a tutoring company called K5 Learning Essentials, and I am building up a tutoring coaching business as well.
Alhamdulillah. And that's how, well, I've known you for many years. I can't even remember why or where we first met. But most recently, alhamdulillah, I've actually used your services for my now fifth grader and top tier
Masha.
recommend. Alhamdulillah. Couldn't recommend it more. So alhamdulillah. So thank you for that intro. So for the first question I want to ask, I just want to know, can you walk us through your journey from being a teacher to becoming a tutor and then launching your own tutoring business where you coach other people to become tutors themselves?
Okay, great question. So again, as I stated earlier, I've been an educator for over 20 years.
Mhm.
I started actually tutoring probably maybe about 7, 8 years ago. And, just growing in the classroom and learning, all it took to be a teacher, a lot of those skills just kind of were transferable as far as
Right.
tutoring was concerned. If
Hmm.
you can, manage a classroom of 30 children, you could, I'm sure you can manage a class.
Do anything. You can
Right,
do
right. If
anything.
you
That's
can
what you
lesson
meant to
plan,
say.
exactly. Anything, right. This applies, right,
Anything.
exactly,
Right.
across the board. So same thing with like if you can lesson plan. If you can lesson plan, you
Hmm.
can tutor. If you can
Right.
lesson plan, you can run your own business,
Yeah.
whatever type of business you're interested in. So all of that, those years of teaching and training, it was preparation, right? It was
Hmm.
preparation for the next, chapter.
Right.
I looked at all of the training that I got was a blessing, as far as like how to interact with students, how to teach properly, how to really look at a children in a diverse way, right? Because
Hmm.
us as humans, we're very diverse. So
Yes.
learning, yes, so learning how to, look at the diversity and focus in on individualism, right? And
Hmm.
that's kind of difficult in education because, if
Yeah.
you're working in a classroom setting in a brick and mortar school, you do have to follow some, certain curricula and guidelines that is supposed to serve many students across the board.
Right.
So I started to hone in on individualized tutoring because it seemed to what I saw in the classroom,
Hmm.
the benefits, that
Hmm.
was something that I could see could help
Hmm.
others. I
Absolutely.
noticed that, yeah, definitely. Like a lot of parents, will come to me and, really started there. The
Yeah.
parents asking, like, oh, do you tutor? I need a tutor. And, so then from there, the tutoring business was like born. It kind of happened organically. It wasn't something like,
Okay.
it, you know, I can say though, there was a point where because I love teaching reading so much that I had a plan in my mind to possibly start like a reading program, but to be
Okay.
like a full-time tutor, to actually go and teach all elementary subjects and
Hmm.
really just focus in on that as a specific business, that wasn't in the plan.
That wasn't the plan. So that was kind of my next
Yes,
question. Yeah,
right.
was basically like when you went into education, was this the end goal? So basically you were like, no, you basically saw yourself as being a traditional in the classroom teacher, and that's kind of where it stopped or start. At what point were you like, you know what, this can be something more?
Well, when I started, the clientele started coming, the parents, I saw the need
Mm,
for it,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So when it's almost as if when my idea of teaching started shifting,
mm-hmm.
at the same time, parents were coming over and they kind of like met that those two moments in
Wow.
time and, situations, I should say, met.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of, blossomed about where I realized this is something that, the community needs. It's a
Yes.
need, yes, and then
Yeah.
it can benefit all of us, you know.
So you allowed the demand to kind of push the direction that you wanted to go in. But it sounds like you kind of had already thought about it. And then when the demand came, it was just affirming, like, okay, this is the direction I need to go in.
Right, right. Because the thoughts were there. The thoughts were
Yeah.
there. Like, I just love reading. Love seeing the growth. I see, students that are struggling. I see the classroom setting, and not to, downplay the benefits of, a classroom, but I just realized it's not sustainable for all
Yeah.
students. It's not
Yeah.
sustainable. But there are some that thrive that way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So from there, then I could see that I had, a market.
Alhamdulillah, that's really cool because that's definitely one way to start a business. Like if you have a knack or a skill, is to allow that demand to kind of drive your business. Alhamdulillah. So, how did you transition? Because being a traditional teacher in a classroom, you are an employee. So how did you transition from employee to entrepreneur?
Yeah, that was difficult.
Okay.
I just honestly, I'm going to be honest, like a lot of it was just doing it. I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm going to do this. I see the need there. I create a flyer. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to post this flyer. like,
See
you
what
know,
happens.
yeah. And, because a lot of us, when you're looking at a 9 to 5 situation, you're looking at it and you have like a false sense of security. Not to say it's a
Hmm.
bad thing.
Right.
Alhamdulillah, I'm grateful for the jobs I had and all those things that
Yeah.
helped me, to sustain myself.
Absolutely.
But that false sense of security can leave you frozen and not acting upon what
Mm.
it is that you really are here for.
Right.
So I kind of had that inner battle, like, okay, yeah, I'm right here and I'm in a brick and mortar. Okay, the schedule's set for me, the curricula's set
Yeah.
for me, like I know when my
Predictable.
pay's coming.
Yeah.
Right?
That
So all of
predictability
that,
felt good.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, to answer your question, it wasn't easy. It wasn't
Mhm.
easy. And everybody's situations, their life situations are different. So it might
Mhm.
cause you to lean more towards that security of, a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, you're saying you just did it scared. Is that what I heard?
Right. Yeah. I mean, there was other things that catapulted, especially the online portion. But
Yeah.
initially it was in person, either, meeting at the library or going
Hmm.
to, the client's house or having the clients
Hmm.
come to my house, if that
Hmm.
was feasible at the time.
Yeah.
But I guess we can get into it a little bit later. What pushed me to online, and I do strictly online at this point.
Strictly online. Okay. Okay. Yes, we're going to get into that in a little bit later. But I did want to know how your identity as a Muslim woman shaped your approach to education and business, if at all.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely, as Muslim women, we are teachers, we're nurturers, we're leaders, And when you look at the life of Khadija radiallahu anhum, the
Hmm.
Prophet's wife, you see
Yeah.
her as, a businesswoman,
Hmm.
living in that time. It's really amazing when you even think about it, right?
It
Like,
is. It really
I
is.
feel like, when I think about it, I'm like, wow, that's possible. That was possible. And the
Yeah.
boldness, but yet at the same time, the ethical standards that she lived by, the ethical that she ran her business by, that
Hmm.
inspires me. And that really, that kind of like is a thought in my mind a lot about being a Muslim woman and a
Hmm.
Muslim businesswoman.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, I think that Khadijah comes up so much when we're
Yes.
talking about women in business and how to balance and is it something that's feasible or even Islamically correct. Some might not even think that that's possible, but I think that Khadijah is such a great example of who we can model ourselves after because she did it like so well from the stories that we hear and all of the things that we hear about her. Alhamdulillah. So, were there any pivotal moments or turning points in your journey that pushed you to scale? And this could be a moment where we could talk about your online portion as well.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. That was interesting. So I can start at March 2020, right? That's when
Okay.
COVID hit. Yeah, COVID
We're
hit.
knee deep in the pandemic.
Exactly. Right in the classroom, just doing my teaching thing, still having the tutoring in person, doing that
Yeah.
on the side and, on the
Okay.
weekends, we're told, hey, you can't teach in the classroom anymore. This is everybody go home, right?
Right. We'll figure it
So
out. Just
we
go home
figure
for
it out,
now.
right? The next couple
Yeah.
weeks, then now we're being told by our admins and other uppers in the school, like, we're going to take this online.
Yeah.
There's no returning, and we don't know when we're going to return.
Yeah.
So in the midst of all that, my mind goes, okay, wait a minute. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen to my tutoring business? Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
I go in person and what's going to
Yeah.
happen? And, with the format that the school had for us as teachers, like the way they set it up and how they wanted us to teach, splitting up the classrooms, going on Zoom meetings, that was
Hmm.
it's so funny, another window, opportunity
Okay.
that,
Yes.
because I had been on Zoom meetings, but I wasn't like necessarily comfortable like
Yeah.
teaching over Zoom,
Hmm.
right? This is about
Hmm.
5 years
Yeah.
ago.
It sounds crazy because we're so used to it. Like, obviously,
Right,
but I feel like there was a time where it wasn't normal. It was a learning curve. Let's just say
right.
that.
Perfect word. I love it. Love it. So yeah, definitely. So with that, uh, again, a light bulb went off. And then I had my, tutoring clients, they had paid. They're sending me messages like, sister, like, we can't go in person. Do you wear masks? How safe is it? And
Right.
then, I didn't wait, just reacted and just said, hey, we can do this online. Let's try it and see how it
Yeah.
goes.
Okay.
No, but I definitely give props to my training as a teacher. Like I was telling you, a
Yeah.
lot of the transferable skills,
Hmm.
you know,
Yes.
yeah, the field of teaching, I mean, the training, all that definitely has pushed me to this point. And then when COVID hit, that, necessity to isolate, right? And to
Yes.
use only online platforms and, order your groceries online and, all of
It was a
that.
crazy time. Yes.
Right, right. So from that point forward, that was a major scale for me, and it
Yeah.
helped too as far as scaling too, because I saw that, that students can learn online and I didn't
Yeah.
have to spend gas money or clients didn't have to spend gas money,
Hmm.
so,
Hmm.
a lot of times when businesses grow, then the expenses grow, right? So at that
Absolutely.
point, my scaling, I started to grow because I was getting clients in Texas and other
Yeah.
places and it just it made the world small. It made you realize like
Yes.
we can connect and
Uh-huh.
do this.
Absolutely. I think that is one special thing that COVID gave us, if I can say that. Is that it did allow us to like, hey, let's get on a meeting where before it's like, okay, let's schedule if you're in the city, let's schedule a coffee or something like that. Now it's like, hey, can we jump on that meeting? Hey, can we do that really quick? And it allowed us to be connected so quickly without all of the friction in between. Those connections, like when we had to do those in-person connections or across the nation, the world, all types of things. So that's really cool. So I'm going to circle back just a little bit because I know that when Muslim sisters or people in general are thinking about starting their own business, that first step is the hardest for them. So, can we go back to what your first steps were, like your very first things that you did to start your business?
Oh my goodness. I'm not gonna lie, I was all over the place.
Yeah, okay.
But at one point, because like I said, I started off, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just create a flyer. Let's put it out there. Let's post it online, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Then I kind of regrouped and said, okay, let me start a business plan. And this kind of goes
Okay.
to like some mentorship that I got from other people when they saw the flyer. People that
Hmm.
I knew, but not really, very close or never even worked with. So that business plan, I would say, kind of organized my first steps, right?
Okay.
So like, where do I start? Do I get an LLC? Do I start,
Hmm.
what about like the contracts? Like, what are the policies going to be? It was just like,
Hmm.
this big cloud over my head with all this stuff just,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah.
business plan, even though, I was definitely didn't like the idea, me, because I'm a type of scattered type of person sometimes, but
Okay.
it basically just, it streamlined everything. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
here on paper, you can see it, then you can get it in a certain order where you can start,
Yes.
like checking it off your list.
Checking stuff off.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm a person who has to have a daily schedule. If not, I'm going to sit here like this. And then at the end of the day, I'll be like, what did I do? Because I have to have a schedule. And then if I have a schedule, I say 2 or 3 very focused hours and I can do everything on that list. But if not, I'm sitting for like hours, like, what's the
Yeah,
next thing? So I definitely relate to that.
definitely.
Awesome. So, how did you begin building your client base? So, you said that you created a flyer, and sometimes,
Right.
and a little bit, the clients kind of came to you. But once you
Right.
kind of capped at that level, how did you begin kind of marketing yourself and getting yourself out there so you could scale like you did?
Yeah, so I did a lot of like email, just kind of sent out mass emails to a lot of my clients.
Hmm.
I used that type of marketing, and I really didn't get too much into like the Instagram. I still posted on Facebook. I
Hmm.
created flyers and kind of did it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Connected. With other people in the community and brought it to the libraries and
Yeah.
to schools, emailed schools and said,
Hmm.
"Hey, I'm a tutor, I'm a private
Yeah.
tutor. Can you please, pass my number or put me on the list of other tutors in your school district?" So,
Smart. Yeah.
that, and believe it or not, it kind of, because at one point I was in college taking 5 classes, working a 8-hour day and tutoring. So I capped at a certain point because of where I was
Right.
at. I don't
Don't forget
recommend
the
that.
kids now. Don't forget
Right.
the
Don't
kids.
recommend
Like,
that. There's gonna be dishes left in the
right.
sink. Like,
Some things,
you know what I'm
hey,
saying?
listen,
You're
it
gonna have
is
to
what it
pay
is.
for them after a certain point.
Right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I would say that like, it just amazed me how I'm thinking if I had kind of did more marketing, I would even pulled in more,
Hmm.
but I got to
Hmm.
the point where I had reached my cap of what I could do, right? Like
Yeah. This is
who
all
I
you
could
can do.
accommodate.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
Yeah, and things changed once I graduated, but who I could accommodate.
Yeah.
Um, and then, then I had my regulars, then I
Hmm.
had my regulars that stayed with me and then, so and really helped me to grow.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. That's awesome. So I think we got a really good understanding of kind of your foundation and how you started. So let's kind of transition now into kind of where you are more at this stage in your tutoring. So we discussed a little bit that you're transitioning well, not tutoring, teaching others how to become a tutor. So at
Yes.
what point did you start teaching others how to become a tutor, and what inspired that shift?
Well, the that portion right now, like of my business, is I'm still developing it,
Hmm.
But I saw the
Hmm.
need when I had other teachers ask me, "Well, how do you do that?"
Yeah.
And even non-teachers ask me like, "Oh, I would love to tutor, but I'm not a teacher," and and then it just kind of another light bulb went off, like because it's not something I could just tell you this is what you do,
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
to, right, just like I was doing it kind of freehand, I wouldn't want to
Yeah.
give it to someone like that. So
Okay.
then, it definitely fell in my lap. Another opportunity fell in my lap. And now, inshallah, in August, I'll be doing a launch.
Inshallah.
Yes. Of
Yay. Okay.
basically a tutoring coaching business. And it is the Tutor Blueprint.
Okay.
And yes, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to share because I know it's so doable,
Yeah.
so doable. So I'm
Yeah.
just excited because, when people are asking me, I was focused more on, the tutoring side. And
Hmm.
now I realize that it's like almost like I have to open this up so that people can, gain the same benefits.
Yeah, like I remember when you told me about it instantly, I said, great idea, because it's so easy to understand. And as you explained it, everybody has a skill. You don't have to be a teacher. So if I have a skill, I'm even going to say like cooking. I know this is probably not in your wheelhouse, but even if you have a skill in cooking, you can teach others how to cook, online. And so I felt that, oh my God, that's
Yeah.
a great idea. While you probably are focused on those who are doing education, or are you focused on those doing education? Who is your perfect clientele for your new program that you'll be launching in August,
So
inshallah?
for my new program, my perfect clientele is anyone who wants to hone in on their inner tutor. You do not have
Okay.
to be an educator. You don't
Okay.
have to be, have a degree and have worked with children. And this is about teaching. This is about
Okay.
sharing your knowledge and benefiting others and yourself from sharing your knowledge and just
Yeah.
putting basically in a platform that others, can learn from. And that's pretty much
Yes.
it.
And that's it. Okay, so that segues us into the next question, which is what are the top three things someone needs to start a successful tutoring business?
Well, going back to when I was discussing like how I started, definitely you start like you need a business plan.
Okay,
um,
business plan number one. Okay.
yes, when you're thinking about starting a business, you definitely look at the need, and across anybody who coaches will tell you the same. Look at what the needs are, right? Find
Mm-hmm.
a niche, right,
Mm-hmm.
and then you
Mm-hmm.
can build your brand off that. So for
Yes.
me, the need was I was surrounded by the need.
Yeah. Yeah. You said,
Um,
oh, there it is.
Right. And I knew what my passion was, right?
Yeah.
So, for instance, let's say if you love like apparel and you're like, I love
Mm-hmm.
shoes, I love
Yeah.
all that type of thing. And, hey, there's a market for running shoes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love that. I love, fashion. At the same time, I know that maybe my niche might be like, I don't know, Olympians or something,
Mm-hmm.
running
Mm-hmm.
shoes, providing safe and more efficient shoes for a certain, group of people. If you
Yeah.
see that there's something lacking, so you're looking for the need. So I was like
Right.
the three ends, right, and not
Okay.
in order, but like basically need, niche, and name. Your name is your brand,
Right.
right? Three ends. So
Yeah.
that is the start because
That's
that's
the
going to be
start. The three ends. I love it. That's
three ends.
easy to
That's
remember. So
how
you
hard it
already teaching. You already teaching us.
I'm sorry, I need to stop. My
No, you
daughter's like, you
teaching us.
talk too much.
It's no, I love it. The three
Right.
M's that's easy to need, niche, and name. And so
Name.
when you do those three, then boom, those are the way to start. So anybody listening, she's
That's
giving you
what's in
free
your
advice.
exactly, and that's
Yes.
what's in your business plan. When you
Yeah.
when you have a laid out or a pretty decent business plan, those are some of the things that'll be in there. It's questions you're asking yourself. What's the
Asking
need?
yourself.
Who is like what now? What kind of name or what is my mission? Because that's what
Right.
your name. You have to stand behind it, right? Whatever your name is.
Absolutely.
So then all of that kind of comes to life with that plan itself.
Awesome. Okay, so I know that a lot of women, and myself included, have experienced imposter syndrome. So when you're approaching someone, like you said, hey, you don't have to have this experience, and you see someone that has this imposter syndrome, how do you kind of coach them out of that?
Right. That's a good question. You know, when I think about myself, and kind of my mindset when I started, it was a lot of doubts and things like that. And, I didn't really know there was a term for it, imposter
Yeah, me
syndrome.
either.
Um, but, I would say that, to acknowledge it first and foremost. You know
Hmm.
how sometimes like, oh no, I don't acknowledge it and then,
Hmm.
reframe it.
Yeah,
Reframe and change and sometimes reframing is really self-talk.
yeah,
You're saying, I don't know if I can. No, I can.
I
This is
can.
possible.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, it sounds probably cliche and kind of corny to some people,
Mhm.
but it's really as simple as that.
It is
Acknowledge
what it is. Yeah.
and then just change it, reframe it so that
Hmm.
it serves you. Because when
Okay.
we self-sabotage, then there's no way. Focus on your strengths and surround yourself with people who want to see you succeed. The right people want to see you succeed.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. So that's awesome. And just doing it, it sounds so crazy, but yes, just doing
It's
it.
scary
And then
though.
over time, I know it's scary and you're gonna have to do it scared, but then over time, I think as you get better and as you kind of build, you'll realize, okay, this is who I am. I can do it. And so it'll just become natural, in my opinion. So I think that that's great advice. How do you support your clients through their own business growth? So beyond just the academic skills. So how do you support them in that way?
So in supporting them, whether I'm tutoring or coaching, it's very important to look at like a good fit, right? So tailored solutions, a solution that benefits. You have a program, right? And my program will definitely entails, steps to take to be successful, how to's and whatnots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, I would like to provide like a mentorship type of program too.
Okay.
I want to give those tools, but I want to be able to provide like hands-on, even if that means like, we do a mock tutoring session together. You're not used to being on Zoom. I'm going to be your student. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Let's show me what you can teach and we can discuss and, talk
Yeah.
about these things, And in this program, inshallah, I'm still working on it, but it
Inshallah.
will be, for those who are like straight beginners and those who are not, those who might be used to
Yeah.
being online. They just need just a little tweaking and a little just push to get them going.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I think that support in the beginning is so important just because it kind of gives you those legs and that confidence to start. So I think that that's like a great plan. So we're going to switch just a little bit and just kind of dive a little bit deeper into kind of your spirituality and how you balance that. So, how do you stay grounded spiritually and mentally while building a business?
Ooh, that's a good one too. um, Yeah, I had to really think about this one, because with so many things coming at you, you know, I just had to stay in gratefulness.
hmm
And just stay grateful and just stay
Yeah.
centered and make sure that, that I can see where I was and I can see where
Yeah.
I've grown to. So I'm
Right.
grateful to the creator for that. That I know
Yeah.
that he guides me. You know what I mean? This is,
hmm
like I was telling you in the beginning, certain scenarios, like things fall into my lap and a thing, I'm not taking credit for that. Like I'm just, of course, we put our work in, right? Yes, you get the
Yeah.
credit for
Yeah.
that. But some of the thoughts and scenarios and things that came together, it's like, this is nothing but Allah. He,
Yeah.
answering a dua. Like, okay,
Yeah.
help me focus, guide me, give me more money, whatever it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever you're searching for, but I would say staying in gratefulness
Yeah.
always.
Yeah. I agree. I think that that's like a daily lesson for me and even my children is talking about
Yes,
gratefulness. Like I literally was just talking about this ayah today to my kids. Like, hey, this is actually in the Quran. We have to stay grateful. And I think that you spoke a lot about once you had your mind on something, things you kind of attracted those things, whether you knew it or not. And because you had already thought about it, your mind was like, yeah, this is it. And so I think that for me, that's the higher power. You know what I'm saying? I can't give
yes,
it to nothing else with
right.
that because I've had so many of those moments that I could literally not call it or say any other way than to say that that was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think it's just when people talk about manifestation and intentions and all of those things, which I think that we should be doing, I think that is basically, just aligning yourself with what you want and being open to receiving it. And I think
Definitely.
that that's kind of where it kind of comes in. So, alhamdulillah, I think that spirituality and business and being a Muslim and doing all of those things are so interconnected, although sometimes we look at them as like separate pieces of us.
Yeah.
I think that it's just all kind of like interflows in there. So, alhamdulillah, yes.
Beautifully
Okay.
said.
Hey. uh, so, what advice would you give a woman who feels stuck in a teaching position or role, but wants more freedom or income?
I would definitely say take it a day at a time. Surround
hmm
yourself with people who are where
hmm
you are, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I always say, like, for every problem, there's even the worst of problems. There's a solution. There's a
Yeah.
solution.
I
So don't
agree.
ever feel stuck.
Yeah.
Don't feel stuck. Allah will open doors in places and in with people and in situations you
hmm
would never ever imagine. So when
hmm
you feel that, just again, like acknowledge it. It's okay. We've all been there, but
Yeah.
reframe it. Reframe.
Yeah.
Just say, okay, let me surround myself. Who's doing this?
hmm
Doing what
Yeah.
I want to do, and I really didn't have any people per se that were tutoring, but I can say that there was definitely people that I saw running businesses, sisters, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh wow, like they, it
This
just
is
taught me.
nice.
I
Yeah.
was impressed by it. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing, like to see
hmm
someone really, putting in the work and and just building something.
Yeah. Awesome. Alhamdulillah. I love to hear that, for me, I'm a big proponent of it's really hard to do something if you don't see it. So when you talk about being around the people who have done it, I think that that lends itself to that. So I think that that's like really great advice. Like first step, hey, be around them. And I think through osmosis, through inspiration, through advice, you'll understand what your next step is, or you'll be able to reach out to someone about your next step because you're already in those rooms where people who are doing it are reaching out to those friends who are doing it. So I think that that's actually really great advice. And so we're going to end with our final formal question, and that's what's next for you in your business? I know that we've touched on it, but we're going to sum it up quickly because I want to highlight it again and again and again. And are there any new offers, goals, or expansion plans?
Okay, yes. So my official launch for the Tutor Blueprint business is going to be August the 26th, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yes, that will include for those who sign up, and with the newsletter, there will be some free materials, some starter kits and things like that. And I'm just so excited about it. There is
Alhamdulillah.
going to be definitely a more hands-on approach than something more so than I've ever had.
Okay.
And, so it's like I'm teaching to tutor, but I'm actually tutoring still.
Right.
But yeah, so the right now my website's under construction. So
Okay.
it is tutor-blueprint.com, but you can still email me
Okay.
if any questions, and then I can still reach out to you that way until everything's up and running.
Alhamdulillah, we can't wait. We'll definitely go ahead and add all of your links and everything for everyone to reach out to you. I'm sure they are going to want to for that. So thank you. So now we're going to enter our quick rapid fire questions. And the first one is, what is one tool or software you can't run your business without? And I think I know the answer already, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Oh, there's the only one? They got a lot of them. Um,
Okay.
I would say probably for me, my tutoring binder. My
Okay.
my binder with all of my tutor log with all the information, what I teach, how I
Hmm.
teach it, what concepts I want to move forward in the next lesson,
Okay.
any notes about how I can improve upon it. So
Yeah.
this is like my lifeline. If I have
Okay.
10 to 15 clients, there's no way that I'll be able to remember where we
Yeah.
left off, what page number, or what we were learning in math at that time.
Right. Okay. So your tutor log is your number one thing that you cannot do business without. Okay. Number two, what is the biggest lesson you've learned as a Muslim woman in business?
I'm not for everyone, and everyone's not for me. And it's not a personal thing. It's like you offer a service, and sometimes it might be someone else doing it that fits that person better, the situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not, like I said, I don't think it's a bad thing. I even tell a lot of my, new, like interested clients, like, this might not be for you, not to
Yeah.
push them away, but, I'll ask them key questions to kind of help them determine that for themselves. But I'm not for
Yeah. And
everyone.
you're like, and that's okay. And I'm good with that. And we can still give salam.
Right,
I
exactly.
understand. Alhamdulillah. All right. Number three, textbook or TED Talk? Which do you prefer for learning?
I like both, but I think the era in which I grew up, I'm more of a hands-on girly. So
Okay.
I would say the
Textbook all the
textbook.
way. I
Yeah, yeah.
got
I
you.
mean, just but yeah, even now, like, I love to, they have the ebook options. I'm like, I want a physical book.
Yeah, I'm the same
So
way. I like to get a physical book too, but like you said, they both have their role. So I got you.
right,
All
right.
right, and so what's your superpower as a tutorpreneur? And I'm going to give you that word. You can
Oh, I
take
love that.
that.
Okay, as a tutor, I love what I do. I love
Mm,
what if
that's
you
your
love
superpower.
I love it. I love what I do. When I come off a meeting, I mean, I feel good. I don't feel drained. I feel
Yeah,
positive. I feel good, and I just feel like when you love what you do, that's a superpower within itself, right?
I just
Like, what can you
absolutely.
like? So that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so, so much, Halima. I have really learned a lot and I have enjoyed our conversation. And I think that this will truly be inspirational for so many women who are thinking about business in general, but specifically, even those who might not understood what business they wanted to go in. Now they're like, oh, I can do that, alhamdulillah. So
Right.
that's kind of the
Yes.
goal here. And I appreciate it. We are so looking forward to seeing the business grow even more, inshallah, and scale. And we will definitely put all of your contact information. And we look to hear from you and see what you're doing soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Assalamu alaikum.